Okay, so basically, it's just in my English class, we're learning about how a lot of companies like Google and other organizations take everything you do online, like your Facebook and your searches, and then how they use that information to kind of customize either advertisements to you for other companies, or just take that information for themselves for whatever purpose that is. So the first question is, how much do you value your privacy in the age of data collection and sharing? So do you value your privacy, or are you okay with them using that information to sell
I
you?
value my privacy a lot.
So you're not in favor of companies like Google who store your information?
I wouldn't. I'm not in favor of anybody who's tracking my information, even though it still has my anonymity still maintained. But I don't like to be tracked. And just the thought of someone tracking how I use their service or the things that I'm researching, it just makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Right, I'm sure. So have you been aware that that happens? Like, does that change
Yes.
will that change the way you search for stuff online? Will it
Of
change
course.
so what would you do differently as
I
far as that
use
goes?
incognito settings
Okay.
in my browsers. And then even then, if I have to log into a particular website, I use a different screen name or something that's not closely tied to myself.
Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, so basically you're not in favor, you don't like being, so you take measures against that to help kind of keep you anonymous, to keep that anonymity.
Basically.
Okay. All right, well that's pretty much it, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
It did it? It did it?
Perfect.
See? What you're talking about. It did it.
We're going to do that again. So just go ahead and say your name, major, year.
My name is Max Gendler. My major is statistics and quantitative analysis, and I'm a sophomore at Baruch College.
Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you is how much do you value your privacy in this age of data collection and sharing?
Well, I think even if it wasn't the age of data sharing and collection, I'd say I do value my privacy very much.
So how do you feel that there are companies that use, like when you're on Facebook, for example, you do have a Facebook, correct?
Yes, I
That,
do.
let's say you're on Facebook, you go to a different website, and suddenly the advertisements from that website is on your Facebook. How do you feel about that?
I think that's smart marketing. I think that people need to understand the difference between privacy and sort of encapsulating everything and pushing everything into one category. There's different things that happen on the internet. You can have private things, but you should be very careful. If you truly want to keep something private, you should learn how to. It's sort of like keeping a diary. When you have things on the internet, for the most part, that diary is very open, right? People can check your Facebook if you don't put certain privacy settings on. Things like that really have to be, people need to be more educated before they go out and say this is an intrusion of privacy, because they do sign the waivers, they do sign the terms of agreement before they use any website.
So are you wary of companies recording and sharing your personal information? Or do you tend to ignore this in return for convenience? So basically, do you value convenience over privacy? Or do you still value privacy over some convenience?
Well, that depends on the situation. Of course, it would be ridiculously problematic if, for example, Gmail, where I use a lot of, I use email through Gmail, and there's a lot of important information that gets sent that way. In that case, I would be very disappointed if Gmail sold my information. However, if Amazon.com spreads around what I bought, that's not really a problem, because A, that helps future advertisers get to me what really is a pattern. Data helps people understand things. So I don't really have a problem with that in those cases. But as I said, it's a problem of self-monitoring.
Okay, so I'm going to give you, there's a quote here. Do you agree with author Zadie Smith, and I'll give you the quote in a second, when she reflects on matters of privacy, that the idea of personhood is certainly changing, perhaps already has changed?
Of personhood?
Yes, and how might that be interpreted in your own experience?
Well, I don't know really what that means. In terms of personhood, does she mean that people are viewing others just as data points rather than people?
Presumably.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think some companies need to do that just because it's more efficient. I mean, I work as a statistics and quant major. I work in the data analysis fields. I mean, it's much easier as a company to draw large conclusions from large sets of data. And yes, you do ignore the individual, but that's just because one individual's opinion gets dwarfed by 100,000 people's opinions. But I think that in personal life, that doesn't matter. But I guess when it comes to gathering data online, it's true, but that's just because that's how things have to work. When it's automated, it has to work for everyone. It can't just work for each specific person. When you write a snippet of code for, like, let's say, data mining for, like a website will data mine what you've bought already and give suggestions for what you could buy. They can't write a specific batch of code every time for every single person. That would be hugely inefficient. So you have to lump people in together when you're doing sales. I mean, it's just like any time an advertisement for the Gap is on the side of a bus or something. They're hitting a lot of different people. They're not thinking about an individual person. They're thinking about this group of people wants to see this.
Okay, so where do you really draw the line as far as what information that other organizations and companies can have? As whether are you talking like you're okay? It seems like you're okay with just the advertisement side, but what about if you let's say you want to have a genealogy trace done or something where you have to submit your medical records, maybe not genealogy, but you want to know about your DNA and about things like that, and you submit it through one of Google's new subsidiary companies. I forgot what the name is, where you can submit your blood and they'll give you all your blood tests and results and everything, and later on those results could be used by healthcare companies that would possibly limit your healthcare options. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? Is there a line that you would draw as far as how much data can be gathered, or are you just okay with having it all just out there for anyone?
I mean, there is a line, but I think that saying, I mean, you give the example that a medical company would be able to base their opinion of you on data that you shared with Google, but if you're going with a medical company, I mean, it's just ethically, morally, and for your own health better to share all that same information with the health company. So I don't really see how that specifically.
Well, it's saying that they may be able to track some health problem that you have down the road, and so they will give you different options as far as your healthcare. It could be more expensive or something like that, where you have different options as far as someone else who may not have those same health problems. So that because you submitted that and they have that data, they will give you different options.
I mean, that's just how.
And that's just as a specific example.
That's just basically how healthcare works. I mean, when you have people that are of a higher risk, if you catch it early on, you catch it early on, and it's better that way anyway. Because if you get the lower, if you don't share that information with the medical company, sure, you might pay less. But if they don't have that information, then the treatments might not be the right ones. So, I mean, it's really paying for the quality that you have, no?
Well, it's not a matter of you sharing that information with them, it's them finding it on their own without your consent.
Well, the person who's not sharing their medical information with their medical company is wrong, but, I mean, so I don't really see the point in this theoretical. But I do think that in that case, it's a moral obligation by Google to share that medical information with the medical company.
Okay, so basically, just to kind of summarize, you are okay with having that information shared.
In this specific case, yes, because it's morally correct for Google to make sure that the medical company that the person is dealing with has all of their medical information. And if that helps, that helps. And if it costs more, that's a different problem. But health is more important than cost.
Okay, I think that should do it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just go to the questions real quick. So basically, the first question is, how much do you value your privacy online? So when you're online searching for things, if you're on Facebook or on Google, just when you're shopping, how do you feel about that privacy, that there are companies that record what you do?
PayPal. PayPal is secure. I shop, I buy things, that's all I use.
So, but and there, did you know that there are companies that track what you do online? Did you know there are companies that track everything you search for online and they keep that as a database? And so basically, there's not much privacy.
My
about
account is linked with
The lowest league of service.
my account that I have at PayPal is linked with eBay.
So did you know that there are companies that track your
No, they need my
purchases?
consent.
But
Because
did you know
the
that
PayPal is a secure company.
Right. Well, this even with PayPal, but the things that you don't even you're buying the PayPal thing is secure, but the stuff you're buying, like the actual things you're buying, are not secure, and there are companies that search that and track that. So are you?
I don't think so.
Well, it is like companies like Google. Everything you search on your computer, they keep track of. So
What I did was I linked all my account through PayPal.
right.
So you cannot search anything.
So how would you feel if
If I
you-
just log on, just go to Google and just log on and buy the things, then they can track it.
right?
Everything I link it to PayPal.
So you try to keep it private. So by linking it to PayPal,
Yep, I lock it down.
so you like to make sure everything is
I
private.
lock
you don't-
everything.